So it's just like one of the best highlighter kits ever. This is by Rob. Absolutely amazing. He's all I use. It's called the Rob logo. They sent me the wrong space, wrong size. Hey, Mary. Thank you, legend. Hey, Shirley. Hey, Rachel. Hey, Julie. That's right, legend. Have you ever heard this one? Thank you, Rossi. Hello, Kitty Pearl. How are you? What, the Faces by Rob? It is this. You can get this directly through him only. It's very exclusive. You can see the one that I've used the most. I'm on to this one now. But I know I've had it probably 5 years. So that will tell you how long it will last. I'm a little bit Vega. Oh, Mary. Hey, Marine's daughter. Hey, Kimberly. How are you? Hey, Caroline. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Corey Morrison. Hey, Mark. Hey, Nana Shelton. Come on in, everyone. Hey, Canada. Tonight's story is Shelly. You know what? Bear with me. I'm going to go change this. It's just too late. Okay. Hello, Night Dwellers. Are you ready for true crime? Good to know that YouTube is back up and running, so the stories will be recorded. So I am happy about that development. Hey, Spitfire. Hello, and welcome to Twisted Tales Live. I am your host, Bryn Morgan. I'm a horror author. I'm also a teller of scary stories, paranormal stories, ghost stories, true crime, serial unalivers, urban legends, Appalachian horror, and folklore. Does any of that interest you? Oh, it does! Then hit that follow button and the notification bell and never miss another Twisted Tales Live. And welcome. Is this your first time here? You are welcome. This is a warm, safe, loving community. There is no judgment here. I want you to come in for the next couple of hours-ish and listen to a story. That's all. No strings attached. Just a story. Interact with your family, your Night Dweller family, and if you are new here, let us know where you're from and where did you hear about us. Tonight is true crime. Tonight is case, the Mercedes Vega case that has haunted me ever since I read about it. As I began to do the research, I am truly learning just how depraved, sick, and twisted this world really is. But first, lower your lights, lock your doors, light a candle for ambiance, pull your curtains nice and tight, wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. Let me know in the comments. I'm ready. Welcome, my beloved Night Dwellers, to another descent into the abyss of human darkness. I am your Night Queen, and tonight we venture into shadows so deep, they'll chill your very soul. Tonight's tale isn't just about murder. No. It's about the kind of calculated evil that stalks our everyday world, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It's about a young woman whose light was extinguished in the most horrific way imaginable, and the monsters who walked among us, planning their demise. So dim your lights, night dwellers. Lock your doors, because you're about to hear something that will make you question every shadow, every stranger, every moment you think you're safe. This is the story of Mercedes Vega, a story that proves sometimes the real monsters are hiding under beds. They're buying plane tickets and making plans. Chapter 1. A light in the darkness. What makes a life remembering? What makes a life worth remembering after it's gone? Let me tell you about a girl who danced with life itself, night dwellers. Not just on stages under neon lights, but in every moment of her 22 years on this earth. Her name was Mercedes Vega, and she was so much more than the headlines that would later define her. I want you to picture a little girl with curls that bounced when she laughed, growing up in a family where love wasn't just spoken, it was lived, it was shown. Mercedes wasn't born into privilege, but she was born into something rarer. A family that believed in her potential. Her parents, Tom and Erica Pillsbury, watched their daughter bloom like a desert flower. Beautiful, resilient, and determined to thrive even in the harshest of conditions. First person, Mercedes' mother. She had this energy about her. Her mother, Erica, would say, her voice carrying both pride and unbearable sorrow. Like she could conquer the world. I remember when she was 5 years old, she would stand up on this rock that we had in our front yard, and she would pronounce, "I'm going to save the world." She was obsessed with Wonder Woman. When Mercedes walked into a room, you knew it. Not because she demanded attention, but because her spirit was so bright, it was impossible to ignore. Mercedes was the kind of friend who remembered your birthday without Facebook reminders. There's an unusual thing. Who showed up when you needed her most, if you were hurting, if you needed anything. Mercedes will give you the shirt off her back. Who can make you laugh until your sides ached. Her best friend, Mackenzie Lockhart and Tanisha Williams, will later describe her as their bright light. The one who held their circle together with fierce loyalty and infectious optimism. In Tempe, Arizona, where dreams collide with reality and the relentless desert sun, Mercedes was carving out her own path. She worked as an exotic dancer, several nights a week, not because she had to, but because she chose to. Behind the judgments and the whispers, this was a young woman who was funding her own dream. She was fit, she was beautiful, and she had plans. She wanted to become a personal trainer. She spent her days at the gym, studying fitness techniques, planning a future where she could help others transform their lives. First person, her mother. She was thriving. She had goals, real goals. She wanted to open her own fitness studio someday. Her dad and I were going to help her, but she insisted that she get on her own feet first. She talked about it all the time, how she was going to help people feel strong and confident about themselves. Mercedes lived at the Aubrey, an upscale apartment complex her parents had carefully chosen because they believed that it would keep their daughters safe. It was a gated community. The security cameras, the well-lit parking areas, all seemed like armor against the darkness of the world. But let me tell you something, night dwellers. When darkness wants to creep in, no light will keep it out. But even in paradise, serpents slither through gardens. She was real, night dwellers, not a statistic, not a headline, but a daughter who called her mother every day, a friend who would drive across town to bring you chicken noodle soup when you were sick, a dreamer who believed tomorrow would always be better than today. Oh, Mercedes, I wish that were true. Let me show you a picture of Mercedes. Beautiful young girl. Her whole life ahead of her. She loved the ocean. She was absolutely beautiful. Chapter 2. The heart that beat for others. Question. What turns an ordinary person into someone who refuses to let evil win? Mercedes Vega wasn't just surviving in Tempe. She was building a life with intention and purpose. purpose. Every morning she'd wake up in her apartment, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern, or not Eastern, whatever the time zone was, and look out at the desert landscape. See not emptiness but possibility stretched out before her like an endless canvas. Her daily routine was a testament to her character. Up before dawn for her own workout, she'd spend hours at the gym, not just sculpting her body, but studying the science behind transformation. She carried notebooks filled with exercise plans, nutrition ideas, and motivational quotes she collected from fitness magazines and social media. First person, her mother, Erica. She read it to me so I know her cadence and what she was really focused on. Her mother, Erica, would later say about the victim impact statement Mercedes had prepared for Kanjo Young's trial. But that statement wasn't just about seeking justice. It was about reclaiming her power. So you see, Mercedes had a ritual every Sunday. She'd call her parents, not out of obligation, but because she genuinely wanted to share her week with them. She'd tell them about her new clients. She was training informally about the fitness certification courses she was taking online. She was serious. About the small apartment that she'd turned into a sanctuary filled with plants and motivational posters. Her friends knew a different side of Mercedes, the one who would show up at 2 a.m. in the morning if you needed her, who remembered every important date in your life, who could turn a mundane Tuesday into an adventure just by suggesting a spontaneous trip to get ice cream or to hike Camelback Mountain. Her best friend, Mackenzie. She had this chain. She would never take this chain off. Her mom gave it to me after. I clutched it like it's a lifeline. I wear it because she was always fighting for something. Fighting to better herself, fighting for her dreams, fighting for the people she loved. Mercedes, though young and fun, was not naive about the world's darkness. No. In 2020, there was a robbery that occurred, and this robbery had opened her eyes to the fact that predators do indeed walk amongst us. Wearing human faces and normal clothes. But instead of letting it paralyze her, she chose courage. She moved to the Aubrey specifically because it felt safer for her. She had chosen another apartment and it just felt off-kilter. She took self-defense classes. She stayed in touch with police about the ongoing case against her attacker. What she couldn't have known was that her courage, her refusal to be silenced, had painted a target on her back that stretched all the way to Tennessee. She chose hope over fear, night dwellers. In a world that tried to make her small, she insisted on growing. That's what made her dangerous to monsters who were watching her, not her vulnerability, but her strength. Question: can trauma make us stronger, or does it teach us to carry our wounds more gracefully? October the 15th, 2020. Chapter 3. The Scars That Shaped Her. October the 15th, 2020. A date burned into Mercedes Vega's memory like a brand. She was 19 years old, working late, tired but optimistic as she left her job in Phoenix. The autumn air was crisp, and she was looking forward to getting home. Maybe watching a movie. Definitely calling her mom to tell her about her day. She never saw him coming. Joe Young had been watching Mercedes, studying her routine, learning her patterns like a hunter tracking prey. When she reached her car that night, he emerged from the shadows like something from a nightmare. A weapon gleaming in his hand under the parking lot lights. Give me everything you've got, he demanded, his voice cold and emotionless. But this wasn't just about money or belongings. This was about power. About reducing a vibrant young woman to a trembling victim begging for her life. Mercedes' hand shook as she handed over her purse, her phone, her sense of safety in the world. But even as terror flooded through her veins, something inside her refused to break completely. She looked at his face, really looked, studied him, memorized every detail because some part of her already knew this wasn't over. First person, her mother Erica. She was shaking so bad. She was so terrified. Erica remembers that night when she rushed to Mercedes' side. She couldn't stop crying. But you know what she said to me? She said, "Mom, I'm going to make sure that this happens to nobody else." There was a part of me that wanted her to just leave it alone. Call it mom's intuition or whatever you want. I just wanted her to leave it alone. But Mercedes, well, she was a fighter. The police station that night became a fortress of fluorescent lights and uncomfortable chairs where Mercedes sat for hours, working with detectives to create a composite sketch. To go through mugshot after mugshot until she found him. And when Joe Young's photo appeared on the screen, Mercedes didn't hesitate. "That's him," she said, her voice sure, ma'am. Oh, yeah. I'll never forget that face. But identifying him was just the beginning. Young was arrested, charged, released on bond. A revolving door of justice that left Mercedes constantly looking over her shoulder. The trial kept getting delayed, postponed, rescheduled. 16 times the system failed her. 16. 16 times her trauma was prolonged by bureaucracy and legal maneuvering. Instead of letting the experience destroy her, though, Mercedes used it as fuel. She moved to the Aubrey because it felt safer for her. She started working out more seriously, building physical strength to match her mental resilience. She wrote her victim impact statement with the careful precision of someone who understood that words could be weapons in the war against evil. But what Mercedes didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that her courage, her bravery, had made her more of a target than she realized. Because predators don't fear strong victims. They hate them. And hate, night dwellers, is a cancer that grows in the dark until it consumes everything. And I do mean everything in its path. She survived that night in 2020. My dark followers. She survived and she fought back. But sometimes fighting back just puts a bigger target on your back. Sometimes being brave means painting yourself as the enemy of everyone who profits from fear. Talk amongst yourselves. I have to find a charger for my iPad. That was funny. There we go. There we are. Oh, fiddlesticks. There we go. All right. Chapter 4. The Shadow Conspiracy. Question. How long does it take for evil to plan the perfect crime? While Mercedes Vega was building her life in Arizona, trained clients studying for fitness certifications, healing from trauma, 3,000 miles away in Tennessee. That's right. 3,000 miles away. The cancer was metastasizing. Night dwellers. In the humid spring of March 2023, 3 men were making plans that had nothing to do with vacation, nothing to do with business, or anything resembling normal human activity, for that matter. Cujo Young, the ghost from Mercedes' past, had never forgotten her face. Even worse, he had never forgiven her for it. While he sat in his Tennessee home, ankle monitor wrapped around his leg like an electronic shackle, his rage festered like an infected wound. Every day that passed brought him closer to his trial. Every day reminded him of that beautiful young woman in Arizona that held his fate in her little hands. Investigators would later note, she picked him out of a photo lineup. She was prepared to testify against Cujo Young. She was going to put him away. But this is the thing. Cujo Young wasn't planning to go to prison quietly. In the shadows of social media and encrypted messages, he began reaching out to his associates. Men who shared his contempt for consequences and human life. He found willing accomplices in Sincere Hayes and Jared DeMarcus Gray, 2 20-somethings who wore their callousness like armor. The planning was meticulous. They researched flight prices, studied Mercedes' social media for patterns, mapped out the layout of the Aubrey complex using satellite images and Google Street Views. This wasn't spontaneous violence. This was premeditated hunting at its best. Young used his credit card to purchase plane tickets for Hayes and Gray, creating a paper trail that investigators would later follow like breadcrumbs, leading to a gingerbread house made of horrors. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The man planning Mercedes' murder was paying for it with money, while wearing a court-ordered ankle monitor. Business, Gray would later tell investigators when asked why he traveled to Arizona. But what kind of business requires 2 men to fly across the country with detailed knowledge of one specific person's daily routine? As March turned to April, the conspiracy took shape like a cloud like a storm cloud gathering on the horizon. Kind of like what you see with you in front of you now. Mercedes went about her life, working it out, studying, building toward her dream, completely unaware that 3 predators were finalizing plans to destroy everything that she was working toward. While she was choosing life, they were choosing death. While she was building dreams, they were constructing nightmares. 3,000 miles of distance, night dwellers. And yet their hatred reached across the country to find her like a guided missile made of pure evil. Chapter 5. The last day. The last normal day. Question. If you knew that today was your last day alive, would you live it any differently? April the 16th, 2023. A Sunday that began like countless others in Mercedes Vega's carefully constructed life. The Arizona sun streamed through the windows of her apartment at the Aubrey, painting gold rectangles across the floor where she placed her yoga mat for her morning routine. She had no way of knowing that somewhere in Tempe, 2 men from Tennessee were already awake, already watching, already finalizing plans that would turn this ordinary Sunday into her family's worst nightmare. Mercedes woke up with the kind of energy that made her friends envious. It was a daily thing. The natural vitality of someone who took care of their body and believed in tomorrow. She made her protein smoothie, the same recipe that she had been perfecting for months, and checked her phone for messages from clients. She'd been training informally while working toward a certification. She was beginning to do very well at it. She had plans that day. Good plans. Normal plans. She was supposed to meet friends at Dave and Buster's for dinner. The kind of casual evening that 22-year-olds take for granted. Filled with laughter and arcade games and the comfortable certainty that there would be hundreds, thousands more nights just like this one. But something changed as the day progressed. Phone calls, maybe. Text messages that seemed innocent, Mercedes decide to shift her plans. By evening, she had canceled dinner with her friends. Through interviews, the police learned that Vega abruptly canceled those plans just before her disappearance. I wonder what it was. A threatening text? I see you. Perhaps a menacing call. Investigators would later reveal, instead, her last communication was telling someone she was planning to go to work. What happened in those crucial hours? Did someone reach out to her with an offer too good to refuse? Extra money for a private dance, perhaps, or a lucrative opportunity that played on her dreams of financial independence? Or was it something darker? A voice from her past carried implicit threats, wrapped in seemingly reasonable request. As evening approached, Mercedes prepared for what she thought would be just another night. She applied her makeup with the same careful precision she brought to everything in her life. She chose her outfit, clothes that would be found later, torn and blood-stained. Evidence in a case that would haunt investigators for years. At 9:15 p.m., surveillance cameras captured the last moments of Mercedes Vega's normal life. The footage shows her walking through the parking garage of the Aubrey, her keys in hand, her dark hair catching the fluorescent lights. She moved with purpose, unaware that in the shadows, death was already waiting for her, waiting behind a column. 30 feet away, a Chevrolet Malibu sat in the darkness like a predator's den. Inside, two men watched her approach her car with the cold calculation of hunters who had traveled 3,000 miles for this single moment. 9:15 p.m., night dwellers. 9:15 p.m., my dark disciples. The last time Mercedes Vega would ever be seen alive and free. In 30 seconds, her world would explode into violence and terror. In 30 seconds, she would discover that all the safety measures that she had used, studied, trained, perfected, all the precautions, all the careful planning in the world could protect her from the kind of evil that flies across the country to destroy a single life. We'll take an intermission, and when I return, I will tell the second part of Mercedes Vega's true crime case. Toodaloo. Snacks, sodas, putting that little doggy out to walk. I'll be back soon. podcast. Dean, thank you for the follow. Dean, do you like scary stories? Hello, Troy. Thank you for sharing the live. Do you have 5 friends, 10 friends that you can share this live with? Please do so, because that's how this live is going to get known, is by word of mouth to others. Family, friends, co-workers, neighbors, brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, grammies, grandpies, whatever. That is how it's going to get known. Thank you for the lovely, lovely gifts. Alicia, Indiana girl, hello. Hello, Galaxy Wolf. Thank you for the follow. Galaxy Wolf, do you like scary stories? Oh, thank you, Judy, still for that compliment. That is very sweet. I'm like, my iPad is about to die. One moment. Have you ever heard of the Mercedes Vega case? Is this your first time? Hey, Magic Moon. You were just reading more on it. Yeah, it is, it's a bad one. Why, thank you, Cole. Thank you, thank you. First time, it is. It's horrible. It is. I would definitely recommend viewers' discretion on the second half of this story. The depravity, the absolute coolness of these monsters. Oh, she did. Hey, Ebony Eyes, how are you? Thank you for sharing the live. Thank you for sharing on the FYP. Thank you all globally. I love hearts. Do you like hearts? I like pink hearts, red hearts, blue, green, purple. It doesn't matter. I like hearts. Why, thank you, Patrick. Magic Moon in the house. So good to see you, my dear. Amber, thank you. That was lovely. Thank you so much. We'll start here in about 4 minutes. And I am going to change up the music a little bit, add some variety. Let me see. I think the thing that gets me about this particular case is how it was so calculated, so planned. 3,000 miles, that's a significant journey. All to shut a girl up. Amber, thank you for the night star. Oh, just on a side note, we have to be at 150 likes, 150k likes before I start the second portion. Got to get there. So, let's please tappity tap 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 away. Oh, it did. It really, really, truly did. Thank you, Patrick. Hey, Alabama, how are you? I don't know how you cause harm to another human being, how you cause harm to another individual. I just don't understand. Purposefully, I don't understand how you do it. I believe that, Alabama. It has been so hot here. And just talking to people all across the country, it's everywhere. So I can see the crystal ball really well on YouTube. I'm loving how YouTube looks. Oh, magic, that is the worst. Hey, Amy! How are you? Thank you for the DJ glasses. All right. No, I did not. W. Murphy, really? No, I did not see that. Oh, wow. I think that sounds true, Crimey. Let's gather back in, night dwellers. Hey, Gracie, how are you? Hey, James Lizardy, 4 years old. Hey, Melanie. Any lucid dreams? Let's come back into the remaining part of the story of Mercedes Vega. Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light a candle for ambiance. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. But first, let me know in the comments. I'm ready, my queen. Chapter 6. The hunt begins. Question. What goes through a killer's mind as they watch their victim bleed? In the suffocating darkness of that Sunday night, as most of Tempe slept peacefully in their beds, Mercedes Vega found herself living through every woman's worst nightmare. The blood found in the parking garage would later tell investigators only part of the story. The first violent chapter of a horror novel written in pain and terror. The surveillance footage from the Aubrey revealed a chilling timeline that would haunt everyone who watched it. At 8:45 p.m., a Chevrolet Malibu entered the parking garage. 30 minutes before Mercedes would appear. 30 minutes. That's how long Sincere Hayes and Jared DeMarcus Gray sat in the darkness, waiting for their prey like patient spiders in a web. They had traveled 3,000 miles to weave. But this wasn't random violence or some opportunistic crime. They knew her routine down to the minute. They knew which parking spot was hers. They knew exactly where to position themselves for maximum impact and minimum witnesses. When Mercedes walked into that garage at 9:15 p.m., she was walking into a trap that had been months in the making. My dark disciples. As she approached her car, keys in hand, thinking about whatever had made her change her evening plans, two predators emerged from the shadows, like something from humanity's darkest nightmare. The attack was swift and brutal. Blood-spattered evidence will later show that Mercedes was struck from behind as she tried to open the car door. Exactly as her father Tom would grimly reconstruct. She was turned backwards and opening her door, and they hit her from behind. But let me tell you one thing, Night Dwellers. Mercedes' fault. Even caught off guard, even outweighed and outnumbered, she fought with the desperation of someone who understood exactly what was happening to her. Her blood was not just found at the parking spot, but in the front passenger seat of her own car. Evidence that she was conscious, aware, and terrified as her own vehicle became her prison. The surveillance timeline tells a story of terrifying efficiency. At 9:25 p.m., just 10 minutes after Mercedes had walked into that garage, as a free woman, both cars left together. Her silver Dodge Charger and the Malibu that would become her funeral pyre, moving through the night like a funeral procession for the living. They drove her car to the Culinary Dropout, a popular restaurant where couples were sharing dinner, friends were celebrating birthdays, and life was continuing in all its normal, beautiful complexity. None of those people knew that just outside in the parking lot, a young woman's car was being abandoned as evidence of an abduction that had already spiraled into something unimaginably worse. In 10 minutes, these monsters had shattered a life, begun a nightmare, and set in motion events that would echo through eternity. Somewhere in the desert darkness, Mercedes was discovering that all her strength, all her courage, all her will to live would be tested in ways no human being should ever have to endure. Chapter 7. The perfect crime unravels. Question. Can evil truly hide from justice? Or does blood always call for blood? Let's find out. For 578 days, Mercedes Vega's killers walked free. They returned to Tennessee thinking they had outsmarted everyone, believing their careful planning and cross-country travel had created the perfect alibi. They went about their lives, eating, sleeping, laughing, while Mercedes lay cold in her grave, and her family drowned in grief. But investigators never stopped hunting. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office worked with the patience of saints and the determination of avenging angels. They followed digital breadcrumbs, offer-up records, IP addresses, cell phone pings. They analyzed surveillance footage, frame by frame, blood spatter patterns, drop by drop. The breakthrough came from the most basic of police work. Fingerprints. Sincere Hayes, thinking himself untouchable in Tennessee, was arrested on unrelated charges. When his fingerprints were run through the system, they matched evidence from Mercedes Schmettersee. On November the 11th, 2024, Hayes was arrested at the Hamilton County Jail in Tennessee. The perfect crime began to crumble like a house of cards in a hurricane. When we first found out about it, we were shocked. This detective just appears on my doorstep and says, "May I come in and speak with you?" And when he told me what had happened and the way that I found out, we just held each other and cried. Tears were streaming down her face as she relived the moment she learned that her daughter's unaliver had finally been caught. But Hayes didn't act alone. The investigation revealed a web of conspiracy that reached back to the original robbery in 2020. Cutcho Young, the man Mercedes had bravely identified in the photo lineup, had orchestrated her murder from behind bars, or rather from the ankle monitor he wore while out on bond. Jared DeMarcus Gray, linked to the crime scene through evidence that couldn't be explained away, was the third member of this unholy trinity. Three men, united by their capacity for evil, brought together by their desire to silence a brave young woman who desired to seek justice. They thought distance would save them night dwellers. They thought state lines were some kind of magical barrier that would protect them from the consequences of their evil. Blood calls to blood, and Mercedes' blood was screaming for justice. Let me paint you a picture of what evil truly looks like. Chapter 8. The Faces of Evil. Question. What turns a human being into a monster? Let me paint you a picture of the three men who conspired to torture, murder Mercedes Vega night dwellers. Let me show you what evil looks like when it wears a human face. These two men forced Mercedes into their car, parked on the side of the highway, did unspeakable things to her. Beat her in the head repeatedly. They had 2 bottles of bleach. They forced her to drink it. Whether it was to conceal evidence or just pure evil, we don't know. But can you imagine? Drinking bleach. Nightmares. Sincere Hayes, 22 years old, the same age as Mercedes when she passed, born in Tennessee, raised in a world that somehow told him that someone's life was worth less than his convenience. When confronted with evidence of his crime, of forcing her to drink bleach, beating her to a bloody pulp, catching her body on fire, he showed no remorse. No recognition of the horror that he had inflicted. His eyes, witnesses said, remained cold and empty, windows to a soul that had been consumed by darkness. I should say so. James DeMarcus Gray, the traveler, the one who claimed he came to Arizona for business, but couldn't explain what business was or who he was with. Gray's hands, investigators believe, were the ones that carried out much of the physical violence against Mercedes, holding her head back, while Jared DeMarcus Gray and the other poured straight bleach down her throat. He denied knowing his co-conspirators even when faced with overwhelming evidence of their connection, text messages, cell phone calls. But he didn't know them. Kudjo Young, a puppet master, the original monster from Mercedes' past, who couldn't let sleeping dogs lie, who held a grudge. Out on bond for the armed robbery of Mercedes in 2020, Young orchestrated Hirsch murder from afar, using his credit card to buy plane tickets for his accomplices, planning her death with the same casual attention most people would give to planning a vacation. 3 men, 3 different roles in the same horrific play. The muscle, the mastermind, and the executioner, all connected by their shared willingness to torture and murder an innocent young woman whose only crime was seeking justice. Did you know that there was a passerby who saw the car on fire, who saw the woman dancing inside the flames, who saw one of those men standing outside the car, watching her as she died a torturous, agonizing, unaliving. These aren't serial unalivers from horror movies, night dwellers. These are your neighbors, your co-workers, the people who check out ahead of you at the grocery store, evil doesn't wear a sign or announce itself with dramatic music. It looks just like everyone else. Remember their names, Night Dwellers. Sincere Hayes, Jared DeMarcus Gray, Kudjo Young. Remember that evil has many faces, and sometimes it smiles at you on a Tuesday sunny afternoon. Chapter 9. The Family's Nightmare. Question. How do you survive when your child becomes the victim of the ultimate evil? Tom and Erica Pillsbury didn't just lose their daughter the night that Mercedes died. They entered a living hell that no parent should ever have to endure. For 578 days, they lived with questions that gnawed at them like physical pain. Who killed their baby? Why? Why did she suffer? Where are the monsters who did this? First person, Tom, Mercedes' father. I always said to her, I got your back, baby girl. He said this at a memorial walk for Mercedes. And I make you a solemn vow right now. You will not become yesterday's news. We will find who did this. For the first year, there were no leads. No one knew what had happened to Mercedes and who had did it. But these two parents, Night Dwellers, they were determined. They weren't going to let it go. And they told the detectives so. You stop looking. We will keep looking. You stop asking questions. We will ask questions. You stop searching for our baby girl. We will keep searching. But imagine, Night Dwellers, the torture of not knowing. Of seeing other families get closure while yours remains trapped in an endless loop of grief and unanswered questions. Of knowing your daughter died in agony while her killers walked free, probably laughing, probably living their best lives, having a steak and a potato and a glass of wine. Erica would spend sleepless nights going over every conversation she'd had with Mercedes, looking for clues that she might have missed. Tom would drive the streets of Tempe, retracing his daughter's final steps over and over and over again, hoping to find something, anything, that might lead to answers. And then there was the cruel irony of the legal system. Here we go again, just like Paratu. While Mercedes lay unalived, brutally murdered by monsters who should have been behind bars, Kudjo Young's trial for the original robbery kept getting delayed. 16 times. 16 times the family had to watch the man they believed orchestrated their daughter's unaliving walk free of technicalities and legal maneuvering. What in the world? I can't believe. I just cannot believe that this coward continues to do this, Eric said through tears. I just don't understand how the system continues to allow someone to basically play this system to their full advantage. Do you know what they did to my daughter? They burned her alive. They made her drink bleach first. And then they burned her alive. Can't even imagine how much pain that my daughter was in. When the arrest finally came, the emotions were complex. Relief mixed with rage, hope tempered by the knowledge that no amount of justice could bring Mercedes back. First person, Erica, Mercedes' mother. This time of the year is always really hard. Mercedes loved Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween. We still have her stocking hanging up on the fireplace mantel. I'll always hang it right up next to her sibling stocking. And over there in that corner, that's the Christmas tree from her house. A Christmas stocking for a daughter who will never come home. My dark ones. A parent's love that endures even beyond death. That's what these monsters destroyed. Not just a life, but a family. A future. A world of possibilities. They didn't just destroy Mercedes. They destroyed children. Grandchildren. Chapter 10. Justice burns eternal. Question. Can justice ever truly heal the wounds that evil inflicts? I can't. As I speak to you tonight, night dwellers, the wheels of justice are finally turning for Mercedes Vega. Sincere Hayes sits in Maricopa County Jail cell facing first-degree murder charges and the very real possibility of the death penalty. The state has filed notice of their intent to seek the ultimate punishment. Oh yes, death for blood. Blood for blood. Jared DeMarcus Gray faces charges of first-degree murder, armed robbery, kidnapping, and theft. The evidence against him, investigators say, is overwhelming. His fingerprints at the scene, his travel records, his lies to investigators. Oh, be sure your sins will find you out. Kaju Young, the architect of this nightmare, faces charges of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. The man who started this spiral of evil with an armed robbery in 2020 will finally face justice for all his crimes. But this is the question: will justice bring peace? No, it won't. How do I know? Because I've lost family. Will convictions ease the pain? No, it won't. Can any punishment truly balance the scales after such unspeakable evil is committed? No, it cannot. Mercedes' parents continue to fight, not just for justice for their daughters, but for other victims, other families who walk this dark path. They attend hearings, they speak to reporters, they keep Mercedes' name alive because silence is the ally of evil. And somewhere in the desert wind, near Tonopah, where a young woman drew her last breath in the most agonizing and terrible way, there stands an invisible monument to courage, because Mercedes Vega, even in her darkest hour, never stopped fighting. Her story has become a rallying cry for justice, a reminder that evil may win battles, but it cannot win the war as long as people remember, as long as people care, as long as people refuse to let darkness have the final word. Mercedes Vega was more than a victim, night dwellers. She was a daughter, a friend, a dreamer who deserved to live. And though evil stole her life, it could not still her legacy. Her story will outlive her unalivers. Her name will be remembered long after theirs are forgotten. That is the true victory against darkness. And so, my beloved night dwellers, another tale from the abyss comes to an end. But the darkness doesn't sleep, and neither do we. We remain vigilant, we remember the victims, we honor their stories. Mercedes Vega's light was extinguished by monsters who thought they could play God with another person's life. But her story, her courage, her struggle, her family's love burns eternal in the night. It serves as both warning and weapon against the evil that walks among us. Lock your doors tight. Trust your instincts. Be weird. Be rude. Stay alive. Remember that evil often wears a familiar face and speaks with a friendly voice. And never, ever forget that in this world of shadows and predators, sometimes the only thing standing between innocence and horror is our willingness to see the truth, to speak for the victims, to remember their names. Light a candle for Mercedes Vega. In the desert where the highway runs, where cruel hands snuffed out the sun, a young girl's scream still haunts the night, her terror frozen in starlight. They came for her across the miles, with predator hearts and demon smiles. 3 monsters wearing human skin. Let the nightmare dance begin. In parking lots, where shadows play, evil hunted her that day. Blood upon concrete tells the tale of innocence doomed to fail. Bleach burns in her throat like fire, while devils sing their death choir. Smoke and flame consume her cries, as darkness swallows all her lies. But listen close, the wind still calls. Through desert sand and prison walls, her voice demands what's due and right, justice burning through the night. So remember well her name and face, Mercedes Vega's saving grace. Though evil tried to still her light, her story blazes ever bright. In every court where truth is told, her courage makes the guilty fold. For death may silence vocal cords, but cannot silence righteous words. The flame that burns within her name will never bow to evil's claim. Mercedes Vega, brave and true, we light this candle here for you. This story is dedicated to the memory of Mercedes Vega and to her family's unwavering pursuit for justice. May her light continue to shine and guide others away from the darkness that took her far too soon. From the shadows where terror breeds, I whispered tales of wicked deeds. My voice, a serpent in your ear, feeding on your deepest fear. I am the queen of midnight's throne, where broken souls come home alone. Through twisted tales and stories dark, I leave upon your mind my mark. When daylight fades and shadows grow, I call to you from depths below. Night dwellers hear my siren song, and in my realm they all belong. I weave through dreams like poison wine. Your sleeping thoughts become all mine. Each story told, each victim's cry echoes until the day you die. Behind your eyes, when darkness falls, you'll hear my voice through haunted halls, my crown of bones, my dress of night, forever cursing you with fright. No lock can bear, no prayer can save from tales I tell beyond the grave. But when the moon shows her pale face, I drag you to my dwelling place. Sleep if you can, but know I'm there, a shadow dancing in your lair. My story's branded on your soul until I've claimed you as my goal. So close your eyes and try to flee, but night dwellers all return to me. For when the world grows cold and dark, remember this: in the darkest corridors of your nightmares, you do.